Hi, my name is Jennifer, and this is the Leadership Today show. In today's segment, we will be focusing on the skills approach theory. So, Dr. Scott, what can you tell us about leadership theories?
Well, leadership theories, the beginning of the early 20th century, leadership theories were pretty broad. They focused on the fixed traits of leaders, simply meaning it's who they are. Later on, scientists focused on situational variables and behaviors that led to making a great leader. Although both traits and situational behavior both contribute to leadership, there were still main loopholes in the theory. Although there were several leadership theories, they can all be shrunk down to three main categories: trait approach, style approach, and skill approach. The trait approach is basically personality. The style approach is behavior and situation. And skills approach isn't just knowledge. Trait and skill approach specifically deals with the leader, whereas style approach deals with leaders and subordinates. The skills approach history has two models. Both were derived from the holes in the previous theories. The first was studied by Robert Katz in 1955, leading to the three skills model. He felt that skills can be taught, traits are just who you are. The second was 2000 by Michael Mumford and his colleagues created the skills model leadership. Both approaches look at the skill set and makes an efficient and effective leader of how they teach them. Robert Katz has three approaches. To break them down into three skills categories was technical, which is knowledge about the competencies and proficiencies in the specific work activity. The human part is the ability just to work with people. Conceptual is the ability to work with ideas and concepts. All skills can be learned and bettered through proper leadership training and development. The three skills approach, depending on the position in the company, the skills vary in importance. A CEO doesn't need to know how to build a house, rather how to allocate the resources to solve the problems. Whereas the middle management right here needs all the technical, human, and conceptual. Whereas construction management, which is the supervisory level, the construction manager needs more technical and handles on skills. And that's a broad outlook of the three skills approach.
Thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Anytime.
Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
You too.
It's good having you.
Our next guest joining us is Dr. Fight. Hi, Dr. Fight. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Fight, what can you tell us about the skills approach theory?
Up next, we're going to talk about Mumford and colleagues. He actually had two other colleagues that did this research with him. In the beginning, in the 1990s, the Department of Defense actually funded their research to find a theory of leadership focusing on organizational problem-solving skills. Their main goal was to find criteria that leads to being an effective leader and why some leaders are better problem solvers than others. Also, the research continued for years. It actually took about 10 years. They interviewed over 1,800 Army officers ranging from lieutenant to colonel, looking at their skills, their experiences, and also the situations that they were involved in. And this research led to the Mumford's skills model of leadership. It's also known as the capability model. It states that leadership capabilities can be developed over time through education and experience. What this means is that it is a learned skill, and you can only get better by practicing. They actually were able to break up their model of leadership into 5 components: competencies, individual attributes, leadership outcomes, career experiences, and environmental influences. As we can see from here, the skill model is basically set up into the 3, the individual attributes, competencies, and outcomes, and these are the subcategories below. The first one is going to be the individual attributes. These are broken down into 4 subcategories, the first one being general cognitive ability. Simply, this is a person's intelligence. It includes perceptual processing, information processing, general reasoning skills, creative and divergent thinking capacities, and memory skills. However, this ability gets worse with time. Crystallized cognitive ability is the intellectual ability that is learned and acquired over time. Basically, this is knowledge that is stored through experience. This is something that gets much better with time. It grows with time. Next is motivation. There's 3 crucial aspects of motivation. You must be willing to do work, willing to dominate, or be dominant in the situation, and also willing to be committed to the social good of the group. Together with these three aspects, it provides a leader to be not only better for those that work around him and under him, but for the organization as a whole. The final subcategory for individual attributes is going to be personality. What this is any personality characteristic that helps people to cope with complex organizational situations, probably is related to leader performance. An example, in a crisis, can you keep a level head? Can you assess the situation? Can you adapt? And can you overcome? Next, we have competencies. This is broken down into three subcategories: problem-solving skills, which is the ability to solve new and unusual, ill-defined organizational problems. The steps that are taken to do this is that you have to identify the problem, you got to research the problem, come up with a plan to rectify the problem, and then implement if necessary. The social judgment skills, which is the capacity to understand people and social systems. This is very similar to Katz's human skills, in that it's the ability to work in a group and effectively distribute people to solve problems. This involves having empathy towards other viewpoints, being aware of how others work in an organization, and having behavior flexibility, which means that you know that others can be more effective if you use a different approach, or a willingness to change for the better of the group. A leader must also be able to communicate effectively to others so that they can see his viewpoint and his goals. Knowledge is the final subcategory for competencies. It's the accumulation of information and the mental structures used to organize that information. Knowledge is what you know. It's the final competency skill, and by far the most important, for without proper knowledge, the leader of a group is absolutely useless. They will be useless because they won't know what to do, they won't know how to properly address a problem or how to solve it. The next group is going to be leadership outcome. This is broken down into two subcategories: effective problem solving and performance. Effective problem solving is the keystone to skills approach. It's determined by the originality and the quality of expressed solutions to problems, and also involves creating solutions that are logical, effective, and unique that go beyond given information. Secondly is performance. How well a leader did their job. This is shown through performance reviews, where superiors and subordinates discuss leader competency. Together, the effectiveness of the leader can be measured. The next one is career experiences. This leads to more knowledge and skill improvement. The longer that you're in a career field, the more hands-on experience you'll get, and the more you learn. This happens as the leader moves up the hierarchical ladder, and as they get more and more complex jobs, they learn more and more complex methods of solving those problems. This leads to higher levels of problem-solving skill and social judgment skills, which in turn develop strong leadership skills. The final component to Mumford's skills theory of leadership is environmental influences. Now, environmental influences can be either internal or external. Internal influences include technology, facilities, employee expertise, and communication. One small internal influence could slow down efficiency by a large margin for the rest of the company. An example of this is that if a car factory had technology from 30 years ago, it wouldn't be able to produce near as much as a factory with today's technology. Next is external influences. This can be economic, political, social problems, or a natural disaster as well. It's anything outside of the company that influences your work.
All right, Dr. Veit, what can you tell the viewers about how to apply this skills approach theory?
Certainly. Ways to apply the skills approach theory is kind of hard to explain. It's not, black and white. It is a skill that you learn over time, and only through practice will you get better at it. The three-skill approach puts different emphasis on each skill based on hierarchical positions. So depending on where you are, you need to focus more on, maybe technical skill if you're on the lower end, or more competency skills on the upper end. The skills model of leadership provides insight on the components that make up an effective leader. The model shows how individual attributes are the base for leader competencies, which directly influence leader outcomes. Ways to improve on your individual attributes is to simply just take a class, take a leadership class, seminars, anything that can help advance you with public speaking, problem-solving skills, anything like that will help.
This is Jennifer, and this concludes our Leadership Today show. Join us next week for another segment.